Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the host, Sir Ryan Scarf, and today I shall be commentating on a movie I am rather fond of, The Fox and the Hound. This is my first ever video of this kind, and I do hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed presenting it. Now, without further ado, I present my commentary. The Fox and the Hound is a wonderful, beautiful movie, but it's more than that. It's more than a Disney movie, more even than a movie with morals. The Fox and the Hound is a great story. I admire the writers, the animators, and everyone else who made it possible. It's a great Disney movie, through and through, through and through. Today, I'm going to do my first actual movie review, and I do wish to make it clear as a summer's afternoon that everything beyond this point is a personal opinion from some random kid in Florida. I've no actual credentials to my name to speak of, so I'm stretching the line, rather, between free speech and sharing ignorance. However, I try to base my opinions on facts to at least sound educated and informed, and to share my insights into this movie, and perhaps other things in the future. And so, without further ado or other pleasantries, I present my commentary on The Fox and the Hound. For a kid's movie, it holds a lot of my affection and has quite a lot of allure to me. For all legality, I am an adult, so for a kid's movie, it's pretty mature. I may attempt to commentate on it from a kid's perspective with their intents and purposes in mind. It is, after all, a kid's movie, but I'll most likely just say it as I see it. It's a movie about friendship, deep friendship, forged over time, and possibly because Todd and Copper are the only other dogs in the neighborhood. The movie starts off peacefully in a natural setting, which immediately draws my personal attention, as some have called me a tree hugger, others a tree lover. All seems peaceful, but all too soon the forest quakes with the sound of a hunt. A hunter and his trusted, beloved dog are chasing a vixen, which is gallantly carrying a cub in her mouth. Visibly energized with fear, every instinct screaming, the vixen makes every move to escape, jumping over logs across rivers, and even making a determined leap over a precarious-looking ledge, with a solid drop down the middle. It is mostly in vain, as she happens across a plain grassland and farmland, with no suitable place to hide herself and the cub. Knowing what will eventually happen, she decides to hide the cub near a fence post, and rushes off into the grassland. A shot crashes across the peaceful farm, and the vixen is no more. Her cub orphaned. This final scene and the final act in this vixen's life takes place under the watchful eyes of Big Mama, a wise and, if I don't say myself, groovy old owl. For some reason, Big Mama reminds me of the coolest grandmother in town, whose house never fails to smell of some delicious home-cooked meal, whom is always there for anyone at any time. She enlists her help in a plan. No, she finds two friends in the distance and enlists her help in a plan to have a cub adopted by a sweet old lady who is fiercely independent and quite able to run her own farm by herself, and yet still have enough time to cook blueberry pie of a homemade variety. The best pie in the world. American blueberry pie as well, if I may say. The fox cub is quickly adopted, named Todd, and given the most comfortable little farm he could ever hope for. Food, love, affection, and the ability to get into endless child's mischief. Cows, chickens, and a fireside at night. Who could dare ask for more? Oddly enough, at the same time that the lovely old woman is getting a new fox cub to look after, her next-door neighbor has just gotten a new puppy to train to be his next hunting dog. And who else could he be but the hunter that orphaned Todd? He named his new pup Copper, and now we have our two main characters, Todd and Copper. Neither really know their place in life yet. Copper doesn't know he's meant to hunt foxes, and Todd doesn't know he's meant to be hunted by hounds. Of course, they start a brilliant friendship, which leaves old Mama as happy as she could ever be. A true, genuine, moment. Several, in fact, as the friendship lasts several days when the hunter lasts several days. And then the hunter realizes his new puppy is running off somewhere. He decides to leash it to the barrel right next to Old Chief. Of course, a fox's will to play won't be restrained, so Todd goes right into the hunter's den and decides to play with Copper, and Chief as well anyway. Chief attempts to kill him in a mad frenzy. The hunter hardly has a clue what's going on, and comical hilarity ensues. It is, after all, a child's Disney movie. Soon, the seasons change to winter, though, and time moves on, when the hunter decides is the best season to go out and train his new hunting pup, soon to be dog. When the hunter comes back, both puppies are full grown, and Copper has earned himself a reputation as best hunting dog. Todd, however, never forgets their friendship, and so goes back to the hunter's den to see his old friend, and of course, his new enemy. Copper is at once glad to see his old pal and buddy, but also proud to be a hunting dog. He chooses the life of a hunting dog, and through another unlucky series of events, must hunt immediately, and this time he must hunt his own friend. They chase him to the woods, and then deeper into the woods. Chief, taking the lead, chases Todd until the lucky fox finds a woodpile and quickly hides under it, giving Chief a slip. Copper, with a better nose, finds him and considers howling and having his best friend killed and skinned. He gives his friend one last chance to get away, however, telling him to run away. Copper moves on a false trail, howling all the while. The howling, however, brings back Chief just as Todd runs out of cover. Todd takes off like lightning and follows the train tracks nearby. At the perfect time, Chief is caught right in the middle of the train tracks, with an oncoming train knocking him off and into a riverbed, breaking bones all in the process. While still Chief is alive, he is unable to hunt, leaving the hunter without his best and wisest hunting dog, and Copper without a mentor. Both vow revenge and will have Todd killed the first chance they get. They arrive at the old woman's farm and practically bash down her door, swearing into the night they'll have that fox's skin. She takes Todd out to a national game preserve, a no-hunting zone, under national law, might I add, which has very, very severe consequences. Here, Todd meets the love of his life in a romance of romances, which I won't go into as it only serves one actual purpose that I can think of, which I'll mention later on. If I may say so myself, the romance is, forced, kind of. It's just sappy. Well, maybe not sappy, just not natural. A vow, however, is nothing to easily break, so the hunter and Copper go out to the game preserve and trespass. They set up traps and wait for Todd to come out, and thus we're given the climax of our story, which I won't give away, except the fact that Todd is given a choice. The choice to choose his old friend and his new enemy, or to choose the love of his life. He's as noble as any Disney hero ever was, and so he chooses his old friend. The characters grow in this movie and are truly dynamic. We see Copper go from a lovable, though generally unconfident pup, to a proud and fierce hunting dog. Todd grows from a puppy to an independent fox. Admittedly, throughout the movie, he has no instincts and can't fish for anything, even his life, even the love of his life, which leads to another conflict I can actually understand. With only the kindness of the old woman to learn from and live by, he is taken out to the woods, to the national preserve, with no way to fend for himself. He falls madly in love with Vixie and in pride-induced overconfidence, attempts to catch a fish, even boasting of his skills. When he fails, epically and comically, everyone present laughs at him. Even the porcupine, a kind-hearted piglet-like character, laughs. He is visibly ruffled and snaps back, "You're nothing but an empty-headed female," to Vixie, whom, might I say, takes incredible offense to this. I understand it's a nasty, nasty thing to say to anyone, especially for a Disney movie, but I refuse to blame Todd. This little scenario has lessons to it for kids. On the one hand, you shouldn't be overconfident like Todd. It is, after all, a little arrogant. But also, one should be understanding, unlike Vixie. At one moment, we were laughing away with Vixie at the comical hilarity of Todd attempting to catch a fish. But when we see how visibly ruffled Todd is, we can't help but feel sorry for him. At least, I can't. Todd was orphaned. He had nothing to learn from. So, I can't actually bring myself to laugh at the comical hilarity. It's just a personal grudge of mine. Pardon me for the interruption. All in all, the movie is a beautiful tale of friendship and even of life, and the end stays true to this seriousness, this true-to-life vibe. They could have made a sappy, happy ending where Todd and Copper are playing again and they'd all live happily ever after together. But they don't. While the ending is not actually sad, Todd and Copper can never actually be together. They don't discontinue their friendship, but they move on as they must. True to life. Sometimes it just don't work. Even if both parties want it to, it just can't be. A fact of a movie that I simply cannot stand. This isn't saying it shouldn't be of a movie. I love the fact that it is, and I greatly respect and admire the writers for it. But it bugs me that life must suck so much. Pardon my pouting, but it ain't fair, I say. It simply isn't fair. Though beautiful story writing, anyway. And so I must bring this lovely commentary to an end. Remember, folks, in the service of His Majesty's Navy, one must always choose the lesser of two evils. Good night.